Hey everyone, and welcome to our deep dive. This one's going to be good. We're tackling Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
A classic for sure.
It really is. This book has been a bestseller for years, and, for good reason.
Yeah, it challenges like how we think about wealth.
Totally.
Like, that saying, it takes money to make money?
Oh, yeah.
Kiyosaki kind of flips that on its head.
He did. He had such a unique perspective, too, coming up with two father figures, his own dad and his best friend's dad.
Right.
He called them his poor dad and rich dad.
And it wasn't really about how much they had at the time. It was more about their mindsets. His
Right.
poor dad was highly educated, but always struggled financially, while his rich dad actually never finished school, but built this whole business empire. So it's really about their mindsets and how they approached money.
That's super interesting because it means that anyone could potentially shift their thinking.
Exactly.
But how do we actually do that?
Well, that's where this famous assets versus liabilities lesson comes in. Kiyosaki really argues that we need to train ourselves to see money differently.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break that down for me. What does he mean by seeing money differently?
Okay, so think of it like this. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket,
Okay.
like a rental property where you're collecting rent,
Right.
or stocks that are paying dividends.
Yeah.
A liability, on the other hand, takes money out.
Okay.
So things like car payments, your credit card debt, or even a house.
Oh, really?
Especially if it's got a huge mortgage and it's draining your cash flow.
So it's not just about having things, but whether those things are working for you or against you financially.
Yeah, exactly. And it challenges this whole traditional idea of what a good investment is. Like Kiyosaki argues that a house, for instance, can actually be a liability
Oh, wow.
if it's not generating income or appreciating in value faster than your expenses.
Now that's making me rethink some of my own assumptions.
Right.
So how does all of this tie into the rat race that Kiyosaki talks about?
Well, he describes the rat race as this cycle, where people work hard, they get raises,
Right.
but then their expenses also increase. So they're essentially on this treadmill, they're never getting ahead.
It reminds me of that line from the book. Increased spending throws families into greater debt and financial uncertainty. This is high-risk living caused by weak financial education.
Yeah.
Pretty harsh, but kind of true, right?
He doesn't sugarcoat it.
No, he doesn't.
And it really points to the need for what he calls financial intelligence,
Right.
which is often missing from our traditional education.
Yeah, for sure. So what's the solution? Does everyone need to become an entrepreneur to escape the rat race?
Not necessarily. Kiyosaki's obviously a big proponent of starting your own business,
Yeah.
but he recognizes it's not for everyone.
Right.
His central message is really about minding your own business,
Okay.
which means building your asset column no matter what your career is.
So it's less about quitting your job and more about creating a financial system that works for you even while you're earning a paycheck.
Precisely. It could be investing in rental properties,
Yeah.
building a side hustle, or even just becoming more savvy about managing your investments.
He lists several asset categories in the book, things like businesses you don't have to actively run stocks, bonds, and even intellectual property.
Right.
But one thing that really stuck with me was his claim that the rich don't play by the same rules. How can that even be legal?
Well, Kiyosaki really dives into the history of taxes and corporations.
Okay.
And he argues that corporations were originally created to limit risk,
Huh.
almost like a legal shield for assets.
Oh, interesting.
So he's not saying that the rich are doing anything illegal,
Okay.
but rather that they understand the financial system in a way that most people don't.
So are you saying that we're all just playing a game we don't fully understand?
That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
And Kiyosaki would likely agree.
Yeah.
He's a firm believer that financial literacy is key. He even compares working for money without that knowledge to being a docile cow ready for milking by your employer.
Okay, that's a pretty vivid image.
Yeah.
But if we're supposed to be building our asset column and playing by these different rules, how do we even begin to learn the game?
Well, Kiyosaki emphasizes developing what he calls financial intelligence,
Okay.
which he breaks down into 4 key areas: accounting, investing, understanding markets, and the law.
Okay.
And he believes that these skills are essential for anyone who wants to achieve financial freedom.
So we've got accounting, investing, markets, and the law.
Yeah.
Seems like a lot to master.
It's definitely a journey, not a quick fix.
For sure.
But Kiyosaki argues that, financial education is an investment that pays off in the long run.
He has that famous story about taking a $385 real estate course that helped him earn millions.
Yeah.
What was it about that course that made such a difference for him?
It wasn't just about like learning facts and figures. It was about understanding how to like analyze deals, spot opportunities, and negotiate effectively.
The course kind of gave him a framework for thinking about real estate in a completely new way.
So it was like a mental shift as much as a skills upgrade.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's something he emphasizes throughout the book.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just read about financial concepts. You
Wow.
actually need to like internalize them and apply them to your own life.
He also talks about overcoming fear, laziness, and arrogance
Oh, yeah.
as major obstacles to financial success. Huge. Fear is a big one.
Definitely.
Most people are afraid of losing money,
Of course.
which is understandable.
Totally.
But Kiyosaki argues that fear can actually paralyze us and prevent us from taking calculated risks. He tells that story about his friend who backed out of a potentially lucrative real estate deal
Oh, yeah.
just because his neighbor told him it was a bad idea.
Oh, man.
That's got to be frustrating to look back on.
It is. It's a classic example of letting like fear and doubt
Yeah,
override logic and opportunity.
totally.
Kiyosaki encourages us to like confront our fears head on.
And to educate ourselves so we can make informed decisions.
He also talks about overcoming laziness,
Oh, yeah, this is a good one.
which he says isn't about being physically lazy,
Right,
but mentally lazy.
exactly. He uses the example of someone who like works really hard at their job,
Right.
but they completely ignore their personal finances,
Yeah.
or they never take the time to learn about investing.
Mm.
So they're busy,
Right.
but not necessarily productive in the areas that could actually lead to financial freedom.
It's like they're stuck in that rat race mindset,
Yes.
even if they're putting in long hours.
Exactly. And then there's arrogance,
Yeah,
which Kiyosaki sees as like a major blind spot.
I can see how that could be a problem.
Oh, yeah.
If you think you already know everything,
Right.
you're not going to be open to learning new things.
Precisely. Kiyosaki argues that like truly intelligent people
Yeah.
are always learning and growing. They're willing to admit what they don't know
Right.
and to seek guidance from experts.
So it's a humility thing almost.
You could say that it's about recognizing that financial success is a lifelong journey
Right.
and there's always more to learn.
Okay, so we need to develop financial intelligence, overcome our fears and mental blocks, and be open to new ideas.
Yeah,
But where do we even start?
right.
What are some actionable steps we can take?
Well, Kiyosaki offers a lot of practical advice in Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Okay.
He's a big advocate for attending seminars and workshops
Yeah.
led by successful investors.
He even says that those investments can pay off big time, just like his $385 real estate course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He also encourages readers to like read books and articles about investing, personal finance, and entrepreneurship.
Uh-huh.
He stresses the importance of like surrounding yourself
Yeah.
with information and inspiration.
He's also a big believer in taking action,
Yeah.
even if it's just small steps at first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He tells the story about how he and a friend got a great deal on computers just by buying in bulk. Yeah. It's a reminder that we can apply like those financial principles, even in everyday situations.
I like that. It's about being resourceful and looking for opportunities to make your money work harder for you.
Exactly. And he encourages us to think big even if we're starting small.
Yeah.
He points out that all the big companies on the stock exchange started as small businesses.
It's inspiring to think that anyone could potentially create something great
Right.
if they have the right mindset and take consistent action.
He also stresses the importance of finding mentors
Right.
and learning from people who have already achieved what you desire.
That makes sense.
I do.
It's like having a guide to help you navigate the financial world.
Exactly. And he reminds us that financial success is about more than just making money.
Right.
It's about having the freedom to live life on your own terms, to pursue your passions, and to make a difference in the world.
So it's about aligning your financial goals
Yeah,
with your values and your purpose.
precisely. And he encourages us to be generous with what we have, both with our time and our resources.
That's a powerful message. It's about recognizing that financial abundance isn't just about accumulating wealth for yourself,
Right,
but about using it to make a positive impact on others.
exactly.
It's interesting how Rich Dad, Poor Dad kind of goes beyond just the nuts and bolts of investing. It really gets you thinking about your whole relationship with money.
Yeah, it's almost like a personal development book disguised as a financial guide.
Totally. We've talked about the rat race, assets versus liabilities, and developing financial intelligence. But what I keep coming back to is this idea of shifting your mindset.
Right.
It's not easy to challenge those deep-seated beliefs we have about money.
Yeah, that's where the real work begins. Kiyosaki forces us to confront those like limiting beliefs that might be holding us back. He doesn't really let us off the hook with easy answers.
And we all have those inner voices whispering doubts and fears, like, I could never afford to invest in real estate, or I'm just not good with money,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
you know?
But Kiyosaki would say those are just stories we're telling ourselves.
Right.
He challenges us to question those assumptions.
Yeah.
And to look for evidence that contradicts those limiting beliefs.
So it's about becoming aware of those negative thought patterns and consciously choosing to replace them with more empowering beliefs.
Exactly. And that's a process. It takes time and effort to rewire those neural pathways.
He also talks about the importance of taking responsibility for your financial future.
Oh, absolutely. He's a big believer in being proactive, not reactive.
Right.
He says that waiting for the perfect opportunity or relying on someone else to take care of your finances is a recipe for staying stuck.
So it's about taking ownership of your financial journey, even if you're starting small.
He encourages readers to set clear financial goals and to actually develop a plan to achieve them. He says, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there.
Right.
But that's not really a path to financial freedom.
It's like having a financial roadmap
Exactly.
instead of just wandering aimlessly.
Exactly. And he reminds us that, achieving financial freedom isn't about deprivation or sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's about creating a life of abundance and choice.
It's about having the resources to do what you love, to support the causes you care about, and to spend time with the people who matter most.
And he also emphasizes the importance of giving back.
Right.
And using your wealth to make a positive impact on the world.
I love that message.
Yeah.
It's about seeing money as a tool for good, not just a means to an end.
He encourages readers to think about their legacy and what they want to leave behind. It's a powerful way to frame your financial goals.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad, what's resonated most with you? What's one idea from this book that you're going to take action on?
Maybe it's starting to track your expenses more closely, or finally opening that investment account you've been thinking about.
Or perhaps it's just shifting your mindset about what's financially possible for you.
Remember, the path to financial freedom starts with a single step.
Absolutely.
And even small changes can have a big impact over time.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We hope this conversation has sparked some new ideas and inspired you to take control of your financial future.
And remember, the most important investment you can make is in yourself and your financial education.